What's happening, folks? Welcome back to Celtic Fans TV. It is time for full-time reaction at Hampden to Celtic 1, Rangers 2 after extra time. I've got Kenny and Martin with me today. Something a wee bit different as it's the Cup semi-final. Martin, we'll start with you, mate. That felt today like we just never really properly got going.
I thought the first part of the game was really scrappy. We never got into a rhythm, loads of energy, but we didn't win enough of the 50-50s. Rangers looked like they were up for it. Obviously hit the post as well, didn't they, in that first half? But half time came and you thought we hadn't really imposed ourselves in the game. Really disappointed with the start. I think in the second half we came into it, but overall disappointment with our performance, and just expected a lot more from the team today. So I was really disappointed.
Absolutely, Kenny. I thought in that first half we really struggled to build anything. Vogic was really slow in pressing, and I felt like Rangers kept getting out through Lundstrom, but we just couldn't get into our stride in that first half.
Yeah, well, we're giving Lundstrom too much space, and they were also more physical. Hatate and Rogic were getting bullied around the place, if we're honest about it. McGregor's left in there trying to hold the fort on his own, but he's under too much pressure if Jack and Lundstrom are allowed to. And then I think the referees helped us in terms of letting them away without being penalising them for that type of tactic. But I think that at its heart that was the problem. We missed Giamakis. I think Giamakis being out has really come back to haunt us, because it meant that we had to play Maeda through the middle, but it disrupted all three positions up top, and that's the worst we've played in those three positions in weeks. And I think the fact that we had to rotate all three of them meant that we just couldn't get into that, and contributed to not being able to get into a rhythm, as well as being a bit bullied in the middle of the park. So I don't think it was a great spectacle of football.
No.
We weren't blasted off the park by quality stuff, were we? We've just come up against this. Could have gone either way. Well, we had them where we wanted them, but I don't think we can really have too many complaints over the piece.
Yeah, the game at Ibrox, Martin, wasn't a vintage Ange Postecoglou Celtic, but we dug in and we got the win. Today it seemed a wee bit like that again, where the game was scrappy at times, and we got ahead through Greg Taylor. And I thought the 15-20 minute period in the second half, around about the goal, was probably our best, and then apart from that, very little, wasn't it?
I did think when we went ahead, because it looked after the first half like there wasn't going to be a lot of goals in the game. We went one up, and I thought that'll be enough, that'll do us. I didn't see Rangers scoring, but when they did score, I was concerned, because in that stage of the game we were falling away a little bit, and as each of the subs came on, sadly we became weaker and weaker. And I think often when you make a substitution, your best players start in the park, don't they, ordinarily? Although we had Kyogo on the bench, we were all excited about that, but I thought not only did the subs that come on make us a much weaker team, but I thought the guys that went off were some of the more influential players as well, so it was like a double hit, because normally you take off your weaker players, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But a big part of that game today was Rogic. If Rogic turns up, what a difference he makes. But you could tell in the first 5 or 10 minutes it wasn't going to be his day. He was just lethargic. He didn't impose himself in the game. He didn't win many tackles, and his distribution wasn't great. So I thought a lot of the frustration in that first half came from Rogic.
Yeah, he was a yard off the pace today, Kenny, Tom Rogic, but I thought across the pitch it almost looked like we were the team that played during the week. We've been thinking all week that Rangers going extra time against Braga would work in our favour. I don't think you can say that. It almost looked like we were maybe we weren't as sharp as them. They had a game during the week, we didn't, and it took us time to actually get going in the game.
Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, the psychology of it's difficult. So when I was saying to my dad, just because we're kind of hanging on in the first half when they hit the post, and I thought if we get to half time or a draw, I fancy it's because they're going to get fatigued. We can bring Kyogo on, and that happened, and we did start to control the game. We got the goal, and you're thinking at that point, this is going to play out in the perfect scenario. But when they get that goal, the psychology of it changes, doesn't it? They get natural adrenaline and an uplift from the fact that they've equalised. And mentally, it's very demanding, that type of fixture. A lot of those players, none of them have gone to, very few of them have gone to extra time in a Celtic Rangers game, so they'll learn from it. But yeah, it was a bit disappointing in terms of the fitness levels. It appeared that we were certainly, if anything, a bit second best, which was not what we would expect.
Aye, absolutely. Martin, at 1-0 in the game, we talked about that period that we had. Cutler Vickers is a great chance, and if he smashes it in, we're probably standing here talking about a Scottish Cup final against Hearts, aren't we?
I think I'll wake up during the night just reliving that moment. It seemed easier to score, and it was disappointing, because there was a chance just before it fell to him as well for it to go in, and that for me that would have been game over. I don't think they'd have came back from that, because their fans were really quiet in the game as well. They never came at this game confident. We were the favourites. And throughout the game, I think it took to about 80 minutes or the time Rangers scored for them, really, to liven up the fans. Whereas the Celtic fans were right behind the team. So I had that going on. I think psychologically, as you've said already, I think that would have been enough. Disappointing.
Aye, it was a great chance to kill the game, Kenny, at 2-0. When we get to extra time, you talked about the fans here. I feel like the fans are tired at extra time, putting so much into the game. But we Juranovic goes off, we lose Taylor. Welsh is at right back. Ralston, who's come on for Juranovic, has to go to left back. Forrest is on the right hand side, and as we went into extra time, I thought that right hand side looks pretty weak.
Yeah, I mean, the whole system, the inverted fullbacks stabilise the whole system because they allow us to outnumber our opponents. They're so integral to how we try and play and how we win games. We lost both of them because Welsh, through no fault of his own, isn't a right back, and Ralston struggled. He done okay, Ralston, but he's not going to give you anything like what Taylor was doing down that left-hand side. So that was a really key part, I think, in the outcome, that when we went into extra time, we were a bit of a cobbled-together side. Forrest has hardly had any minutes, didn't really impact the game. Kyogo was a bit quiet, but it's another guy that's not played in 4 months. So we weren't at our strength. We were nothing anywhere near full strength in that extra time period, and we didn't really carve anything open of note because of that. I just hope that the fullback situation isn't something that lasts beyond today, because there's 2 pretty key injuries if they are sort of medium-term injuries, and there's only 4 or 5 days to go in games to go in the season. Yeah,
Juranovic and Taylor have been really good recently, but it points to a weakness again, doesn't it, when one of them goes off and then the other has to come off, and we end up with a player in Welsh who can't play it, isn't a right back at right back, and then Ralston has to switch sides, and we look a wee bit lacking depth in that area all of a sudden. Martin, where does this leave us? Obviously, a treble this season would have been remarkable given the turnaround. We've got to just go on and keep on a straight road and finish the title.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be a tough week this week, won't it? Because we'll be disappointed, and we all dreamt of that treble and genuinely thought it was going to come. Today felt like the cup final, albeit you couldn't discount Hearts third in the league in the final, but it felt like win today and the treble was within touching distance. But we just need to regroup. As Kenny says, we need to hope that the injuries aren't long lasting, and we need to get over the line in the league. It would take something pretty major to throw that away now. We need to slip up in 3 of the remaining 5 games. And I don't see that happening, although Ross County away isn't an easy fixture. They've probably been the informed team. They started the season really badly, but Malcolm Mackay's made such a difference. So we go up there and we're going to have to dig deep, we're going to have to work hard, and the guys are going to have to give 100%. If we win that, then we go in the next game and we're almost there. And it'll be time for revenge to try and get a victory over Rangers in that game, and then we're nearly there after that. I mean, I'm confident we will win the league. It would take something momentous for us to throw that away now.
And we shouldn't let that detract from what we've built and what we've achieved this season. It's going to be a sore week. It's horrible standing here, hearing their fans celebrate, but you just keep perspective about what we've built. It's going to crush them if we win the league. We are going to win the league short of a collapse, but we just need to. It's more of a mental test, I think, now. That's a big sort of failing for a side that's won unbeaten in 34 domestic games. Yeah. It's not usual for them to have to experience defeat. So how do they react to that? And they're going to have to react to that at a critical point of the season. So it's a test of their mettle psychologically. But I think they'll get there. We've got enough of a cushion. I can see us turning them over at Celtic Park. A point at Celtic Park is done.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great run the team have been on. 34 games unbeaten. You can't stay unbeaten forever. I think if you look at the game today and the game a fortnight ago at Ibrox, that was the more important one, and we managed to win it. But going into Ross County, as you mentioned earlier, we're just looking for a sort of up in performance levels, because the big players today, I thought, when they got in good positions, Abada, Jota, poor decision making at times, and when we created so little in the game, we needed to make the most of those openings. I
mean, we need those players to turn up. We need Jota. Jota's due a good game. I thought he was at times today's decision making. I sometimes think he's almost too confident, too cocky, whereas just roll your sleeves up that little bit more.
I thought he kept cutting inside on his right foot. It became predictable. I'd like to see him go outside on his left foot a wee bit more. I think he did it once towards the end of the first half extra time, and it went narrowly wide at the left-hand post, but I'd like to see him do that a bit more often, because he kept trying to cut inside and it was predictable. Yeah,
and I think at Ross County you need either a little bit of skill and a little bit of flair, or you need to dig deep, and often it's the latter. You need to dig deep, you need to roll your sleeves up, win the 50-50s and be really direct, because they can strangle the game, these teams on the narrow pitch. So we'll need the guys to make amends for today. I'd actually forgotten about the run, Kenny. You just made me feel worse. But we should.
I think I'd bring O'Reilly back in for Ross County. I think he's struggling to justify his starting 11 slot now. That was a pretty weak out in there.
O'Reilly was the one sub that
I mean, he
strengthened us a wee bit.
Yeah, and he comes on and he makes it. He's got such a presence. He's got brilliant feet. I think he's now due a starting 11, and hopefully, if Giamakis is fit, he won't have lost too much fitness. I wouldn't have thought if he's only been out for 10 days. So I'd probably bring him back in and we're a different animal again. So, but it's going to be a test of character.
Yeah, absolutely, a test of character for the team after a great unbeaten domestic run it finished. Celtic 1, Rangers 2 after extra time here today at Hampden. Like this video, comment with your own thoughts on the game below, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching.